Playing a chord progression without understanding the key you're in is a lot like trying to have a gaming chair without a racing stripe. Just doesn't make sense, can't do it, the universe won't let it happen. So today we're taking the people's key, the key of G, and we're gonna talk about really some easy ways that you can play any song without really having to move your hand that much. I know that like a lot of beginners when they're first starting out, they learn the main chords, and you know, G, C, and D are usually the main chords that you start using, right? Like a G major to a C major to a D major. And the weird thing about that is if you look at these are three distinctly different shapes that actually require a lot of dexterity. And it's great when you're first starting out to practice that, but there's also different ways that we can kind of cheat the game to play all the chords in this key and then just utilize a capo to maybe move around, all right? So the people's key, the key of G. The notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then G again. If you've dabbled in adding scales to chords, you might know this shape right here. 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And then, you know, you can go on with that throughout the entire fretboard. But those are all 7 notes, and those become chords. Now, the tricky part, especially with acoustic guitar, is when you're using a shape like this doesn't really have a lot of commonality with the chords that you end up using. Like, sure, this will give you the notes in those chords, but it's almost like, it's like scales and chords are two totally different mechanics. Now, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to blend them together in one easy way. So, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take your ring finger and we're gonna lock it to the 3rd fret on the B string, okay? So, 3rd fret on the B string, B, C, C sharp, D. This is a D note. D happens to be the 5th note in the key of G, G, A, B, C, D. Those numbers are important, and the order that they're in are very important, which we'll talk about later. But we're gonna lock this down because D happens to be a very even of more utmost importance. So kind of like the racing stripe to a gamer chair, D is the 5 in the key of G. So we're gonna have a D note in every single one of these chords, all right? So if we just really run through the chords in the key of G traditionally, you may have seen all these. I'm just gonna blow through these really quick. G major is the 1 chord, A minor is the 2 chord, B minor is the 3 chord, C major is the 4 chord, D major is the 5 chord, E minor is the 6 chord, and then that F sharp, minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished, which nobody ever uses, but it's still really good to know, is the 7 chord, okay? So if we play these like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1, that's great, but that's, you know, that's a good hand exercise workout, which you're eventually gonna get to. But let's make it easier by doing that same thing, playing essentially the exact same chords, but with your ring finger locked in here. Okay, now the interesting thing about this is if we go through the notes in the G major scale, but really kind of constrict our hand to having your ring finger down here, we can play the same thing, this, but like this. Okay, and I think this is a much more musical, efficient, and practical way to know these notes and how they entertain chords, right? So what I'm doing here is 3E, open A, 2A, 3A, G, A, B, C, open D, 2D, which is E. This is the tricky part, your pinky getting that F sharp on the D string, and then open G, okay? What we can do knowing this is we can make all the chords just built around these specific notes right here. So now our G chord looks like this, which you probably already did. Middle finger 3rd fret on the E string, pointer finger 2nd fret on the A string, ring finger 3rd fret on the B string. And again, for the first part of this video, we're not even gonna worry about the high E string. In fact, my ring finger on this hand is kind of laying against it, so I can hear the D string, or the D on the B string, but not that high E string, I'm muting it, right? So, we're gonna keep going with that, but add the other chords, right? So remember, the 2 chord in the key of G is A minor. Now, if we keep our ring finger here, but make the other notes on A minor, open A, 2D, 2G, we get this, which technically is not an A minor chord, but it's representative of the A minor chord in this key. It happens to be an A suspended 4 chord, right? So don't worry so much about the names of all these, just think of this as the A chord in G, the 2 chord, right? So from here to here, all right, the 1 chord to 2, 1, 2. And already I think that's even a little easier than 1, 2, 1, 2. Just work on getting that, and it sounds pretty good, sounds mostly the same. Some people would even say that sounds a little better. Let's go to the 3 chord, okay? B minor. This is a tricky one for a lot of people because it's like a bar chord if you get the bottom 5 strings. But again, we're locking that ring finger there. We're going from that A minor to right here. So that A minor chord that we did, technically A suspended 4, open 2, 2, 4, the middle 4 strings. Take your pointer finger, move it 1 string lower to the A string. Now it's B, 2 on the A string, open D, 2 G, 3. So this is representative of a B minor. Listen to it. Or pretty much a very similar vibe that you can always get away with swapping in and out to make it a little bit easier, right? So 1, 2, 3. Maybe go back and forth each direction. Pivot on that first and third chord. 1, 2, 3, 2. Back to 1. Now keep doing that, and while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Elixir Strings. You know these chords are not going to sound nearly as good unless you use Elixir Strings. They sponsor so many videos of mine. They're my favorite strings of all time. I'm not just saying that. I've been a huge Elixir simp since the dawn of time. Since the very first time these guitar strings touched my guitar, I have never changed. And now I'm a partner with them, and I have an affiliate link in the description. So please do yourself a favor. You're going to love them. I use the 12 phosphor bronze ones usually, but they're all pretty good. This is my personal recommendation. So it helps me out a lot. If you enjoy the channel and you like the lesson, click on the link, get yourself some Elixir Strings, and then continue rocking out. So we've got that 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, and already that's so much friendlier than 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It barely even looks like I'm moving between the 2 chord and the 3 chord. Now the 4 chord, remember, G, A, B, C is C major. All right. Now this one right here is super easy because we just take the G chord that we started with, leave that ring finger there, and pop the other fingers down to string. So it's 3A, 2D, open G, 3B. I bet you've seen this chord before. This is called a C add 9, okay? Because remember, D is the 5th note in G, but it's also the 2nd or 9th note in the key of C. The way we build chords, if we have the 1, 3, 5, the next chord, the next number we would add would be past the octave. If you don't understand that, check out my Patreon because I go into more depth about that. But think of it just as the 4 chord in the key of G, C at 9. 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay, this is going to be our D major. Now, really, we already have that D in there. And here's the regular D major triad that you're used to, where your middle finger is the 2nd fret on the high E string, which is an F sharp. The only thing we're doing is we're trading the high F sharp for a low F sharp. So I've got 2E, open A, open D, 2G, and 3B. Okay, so this has not changed the name of this chord. This is still a D major chord. You'll see this written as a D over F sharp. F sharp is in the bass, which we're gonna talk more about in a second. But D major, D major. Some people even like playing a full D major triad on top, and then have your thumb grab this. Not a huge thumb over fan myself, but whatever you want to do. And again, we get to keep this planted here the entire time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right here, E minor. Okay, this is probably the easiest one because you already know E minor. Open E, 2A, 2D, open G, B, the high string, and then now it's just with a D right here. This is an E minor 7. D is 7 notes away from E. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. So we're adding that 7th note, making an E minor 7. Now for this one, I actually kind of like using my pinky to have on top here. And you can also, if that's too much of a reach between your middle finger and your ring finger for these chord voicings, try using your pinky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay? So for the 7th chord, that F sharp, minor 7 flat 5, honestly, I just kind of hammer home again on that F sharp. If you really want to, you could grab the C here to give it that kind of like nasty sound that, you know, the 7th chord is known for. It's called a flat 5, a diminished property in that chord. But honestly, having a D over F sharp essentially gives you the same thing. And the reason that's really important is because a lot of songs go from the 1 chord to the 6 chord or the other direction, and then we can use this note as a pivot between those two. 1, 6, 1, 6. Okay, so we can use that as just a transitional note. You can use it as the D major chord, or however you want. All right. Now, the great thing about this is you can also add to it. If you want to get your pinky in on both the B and the E string, 3rd fret, like this, all the same stuff still applies. And now it's a bit more of a full sound. We're adding a G on top, which kind of glues together the G-ness of the entire sound, right? So we've got G major, A, B, C, D, E, back to that F sharp, back to G. And then again, if you want to, you can also have the regular D major, and then just save that F sharp for when you're thinking of a diminished chord. But these are the main 7 chords in the key. So then if you get a capo, you can just move everything around. So say you wanted to do it in the key of A, you just put the capo on the 2nd fret, and then do the exact same thing. So it's a really easy way to kind of maintain that finger independence while getting this locked down. I think that's the important part of this lesson, is thinking about doing stuff around this ring finger, and then just experiment picking different chord progressions out. Let's do like a 1, 6, 4, 5 in this key. We've got 1, 6 would be E minor, 4, C, 5. You may actually hear songs that you recognize, because like a lot of singer-songwriters do this, because it is kind of like an easy way to get into playing different songs, because any song can be distilled down into the chords of a key. This is like a really easy kind of like cheater way to kind of do all that stuff, right? And then the next thing is really think of these notes, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and then maybe you can kind of start just experimenting with it. Like let's take just that open A string, open 2, 3, right? So maybe I want to just go have a basic chord progression that's just G to C, technically G to C at 9. I can kind of get a little fancy. And I'm just really just going back and forth. A, B, C, C, B, A. So knowing where these notes are is really helpful, and you can play them all in open position. Even if you strum through them like this. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. It sounds like a chord scale, and all I did there was I played the open strings with the note that I'm thinking of. Then end on G, right? But it's probably not going to sound that good unless you're using Elixir strings, obviously. So thank you so much for watching. Get yourself some Elixir strings. Let me know what you think of the Elixir strings, or if you have a particular type besides the Phosphor Bronze ones that you like, or what gauge you use. Let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll restring this. This is due for a restringing soon. The good old Martin D18. So let me know what you think, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot.